All right, Pastor. So, could you just give some clarification on that poll question that was posed in the chat? And the question was, where do our rights actually come from? And some people were a little bit confused on that. They chose that our rights come from God, and also that they come from government. Could you just
I saw that.
clarify that point there?
Yes, Richard. I also saw the confusion in
Yeah.
people's minds as it relates to the right answer.
Hmm.
So, historically and also biblically, our rights do not come from the government. Our rights come from God.
Hmm.
Before there was the establishment of the US government, the federal government, our rights, God given rights, already existed, all the way back from the Garden of Eden.
Hmm.
Adam and Eve were created by God. Our rights came from there. So the purpose of government is to protect, preserve, secure those rights. Our rights do not come from the government. Now, people who take that side are actually saying our rights do come from the government primarily.
Right.
What they need to understand, if the government gives us our rights, then the government can take away those rights.
Hmm.
When people are non compliant to their draconian laws, as we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, we have people who believe our rights come from
From God.
God.
Hmm.
We agree with that. That is true. What we are saying, it can also be viewed as a distraction from the real issue.
Hmm.
And that was a point of the presentation.
Right. Right.
And the point here is, it's not my opinion. When we take a look at what happened at the founding of America, when the Pilgrims fled from the old world, the
Hmm.
Puritans, and they came to America
Hmm.
to establish the principles laid out in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and then later on, the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
They believe and knew our rights come from God.
Hmm.
But what happened in those early years? Church and state
State.
united.
Hmm.
And then they began to persecute people like
Roger
Roger
Williams.
Williams
Right. Rhode
and
Island.
so on.
Hmm.
And that state is actually a memorial of what transpired
Hmm.
from people who believed our rights come from God. So we're seeing it. It's
So,
clear.
so it's not necessarily a red versus blue issue or a black versus white
No.
issue, but it's a distraction because both sides inevitably will take away and strip away our rights,
Correct.
right?
And that's why in the poll, there were four options. And option D was distraction from the real issue.
Hmm.
And we can confirm what you're asking and what you're stating by default at the first advent of Jesus
Right.
in Luke 20,
Hmm.
when Christ asked the question, John the Baptist, was he from God
God,
or was he from
man.
men?
Hmm.
And the church leaders of the day refused to answer the question because they knew that John came from God. Similar issue. Do our rights come from God or do they come from men? And
Man.
what happened? Even though they knew John came from God, they beheaded John the Baptist.
Mm.
And there were two groups there,
Yeah.
leaders of the nation and the church, the Sadducees
And
and
the
the
Pharisees.
Pharisees.
Right.
And today, we would put them in two groups: Sadducees, the left, Pharisees, the right.
Mm.
But notice, they knew that Christ came from God. The parable of Matthew 21. Jesus said, they said of him,
Hmm.
the heir is here, let's kill him.
Hmm.
They united to crucify one whom they believed came from God.
Mm.
And notice, they also said, give us Barabbas,
Right.
crucify Jesus. We have no king
But Caesar.
but Caesar.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Mm.
We have no who?
King
But I thought they believed their rights
came
came
from
from
God.
God
Uh-huh.
and not Caesar, the government.
Mm.
But we see how they united
Yeah.
to persecute Jesus. The same thing will happen in the last days. And that's why we're trying to enlighten people. Don't take sides, don't be partisan, left or right, but understand the real issue and don't be distracted.
Mm. Makes 100%. Makes sense 100%. Thank you so much for that
Yes.
clarification.
Afterthoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Afterthoughts.